Hey, good morning, Sleeping Beauty. Or should I say good afternoon? Did you sleep well? Don't worry about it. I said you could pick any time, didn't I? Besides, you're here, and we have all weekend to catch you back up on the material. Take your time getting settled in. Just let me know when you're ready. I know you must be itching to get back on track. I wouldn't be surprised if you told me you skimmed through the material before getting here. Yeah, well, that's very on brand for you. Do you want to get anything to drink before I get started? Yeah, I've gotten myself a cup of hot chocolate. They give you the marshmallows for free here. Sure, I'll get that for you. You just sit tight and settle down, and I'll be right back with your drink. Alright, and there you are. So, you good to go? Alright. We left off at thermal equilibrium, which is pretty simple. Do you still remember what the topic's about? Yep, heat transfer. Okay, so we learned that heat transfer will occur between objects in contact with each other, and that heat moves from the hotter objects to the colder objects. Temperature of the hotter stuff decreases and the colder stuff increases, yada yada, and when net heat transfer is zero, bada bing bada boom, thermal equilibrium, simple stuff. Now, I'm sure you've done this already, but I will say it just to be sure. You'll want to pay attention to the conditions for thermal equilibrium for our upcoming class quiz next week. Same temperature, same rate of heat flow, and zero net heat flow. Right, now there are a few formulas for the next part that we'll need to use. I've already jotted them down on the sheet for you in case you missed them. Here. Okay, let me explain the formulas. This first one is some simple math for questions on non-calibrated thermometers. It's as simple as percentage and subtraction, so I figured you understand it if you did one or two questions. I have a few harder questions on it if you want to try them out, but I don't think the professor is going to be that ruthless on us, so just let me know if you want to see them. Alright, next up we have the one for specific heat capacity. Here, I've highlighted the definition for specific heat capacity for you. Be careful not to mix up the definitions between heat capacity and specific heat capacity. Heat capacity is the amount of heat energy needed to increase the temperature of an object by 1 Celsius, whereas specific heat capacity is the amount of heat energy required to increase the temperature of 1 kilogram object by 1 Celsius. The difference here is that the specific heat capacity has a specification regarding the mass of the object, and the one we're using in the formula is specific heat capacity. That's why it involves mass in the equation. Now, in this chapter, we mainly focus on specific heat capacity, but it's important to take note of heat capacity too in case the question tries to trick us. Do I still have you so far? You're looking a little dazed. Is something the matter? Are you sure? You're not still half asleep, are you? Alright then, let's continue. Okay, so before I teach you the formula, I'll need to help you understand what heat capacity is. So, the way we can think of it is like this. There are high heat capacity and low heat capacity. The lower the heat capacity, the easier it is to change the temperature of the object. Think of heat capacity as containers, and heat energy as balls to put into those containers. And one filled container equates to an increase of an object's temperature by 1 Celsius. If an object has a high heat capacity, it means their container, also known as their ability to hold heat energy, is greater, so bigger. So, Because they have a larger container, they can hold more balls, aka more heat energy, in the container before they have a filled container. And just vice versa for low heat capacity. Lower heat capacity, smaller container, lesser balls it can contain before it fills up. Hence, it fills up faster. Hence, it changes temperature faster. You can understand the difference by taking two containers, a bigger one and a smaller one, to illustrate high heat capacity and low heat capacity, respectively. Then, you drop ping pong balls into them, one at a time, each at the same time. You will see that the smaller container becomes full faster than the bigger container. This helps us to relate heat capacity to temperature change. So, now we will understand that the higher the heat capacity of an object, the slower the rate of change in temperature. And the lower the heat capacity of an object, the faster the rate of change in temperature. Are you still with me? Good. We're coming up to the last part of the equation, so just hang in there. Okay, now that we know about heat capacity, we need to understand the difference between that and specific heat capacity. Specific heat capacity refers to the heat capacity of specific materials. So, it helps us understand the different heat capacities of different materials like paper, steel, plastic, etc. That is why the mass of the object needs to be uniform. We need to ensure that there is the same amount of matter across the different materials that we are trying to determine the specific heat capacity from. This is because heat capacity can be affected by mass. That is why a small glass of water heats up and cools off faster than a huge tub of water. So, by standardizing the mass of the objects to 1 kilogram, we make sure that the specific heat capacity of the materials we have is as accurate as possible. Now, here comes the last part. The questions will give you the specific heat capacity of the materials. This tells you the amount of heat 1 kilogram of this object needs to change its temperature. So then you multiply it by the amount of mass this object has, so you can account for each unit of kilogram the object has. Then, multiply it by the change in temperature, also known as the number of times the entire object jumped by 1 Celsius. Then you will get the amount of energy it takes to make that specific object of that specific material and mass to change its temperature by that many Celsius. The change in the temperature that you took to put into the equation earlier. And there. Do you get it? Was I too fast? Oh, you want to jot that down? Sure. I hope I explained it decently. Really? That's good then. I would hate to make you come all the way out here for nothing. Is that why you were dazed? You were surprised that I could teach. Yeah, well, people have told me that I am a good teacher. It's something I can fall back onto in case things don't work out in my current pathway. Don't put all your eggs in one basket kind of thing. You know, I used to teach kids back in high school, actually. Younger kids, and even peers. Sometimes I'd even be asked to take over the lesson when a teacher was busy or needed a rest. It was fun to teach. I'd always love it when people have that aha moment with the material, and when they tell me things like, oh, it wasn't as hard as I thought, or I get it now, and things like that. I love helping people learn things. I genuinely think that learning is super fun. And I know it's a little corny to say that, but, well, if learning about a new game strategy or a fact about your favorite fictional character can be fun, then why can't learning cool, new, applicable to real world stuff be fun as well? And still, you don't really get paid to learn about existing stuff. You'll want to leave some space for when we go through all the gas laws later on in the chapter. Yep, those 3. But I don't know if we'll have enough time to go through those, though. Seems like they're going to be closing up the cafe soon. And I'm not sure if we can take this over to my place, though. I think my roommate's having guests over today. Huh? Really? Is that okay? I mean, I'm down for a study date and sleepover. That is, if you'll have me. Sure, that sounds great. We can have snacks and breaks between studies, and if you want, I can lend you some of my notes from previous chapters. Yeah, that sounds fun. Oh, and since it's a weekend, we could maybe binge a TV show or a movie or something. To unwind a little. Yeah, I know you don't do that often, so I'm forcing you to. So you learn to relax a little. Yeah, we can make it fun. Oh, I have my ways. Well, we better get out of here before they lock us up in here. Seems like it's only a matter of time before we forget ourselves and get left behind and locked up in either a classroom or a cafe. Come on, we should go and let them close in peace. Besides, I already have an idea of what we can watch at your place.